Because we talk about conflict and our body's already shut down. He's like, I don't want nothing to do with that. Just leave me alone with that. You go that way with that.
Now,
And
we came into the PD and everyone in the room just gossiping and just talking about all that's going wrong. And I was like, I'm not saying what's happening is wrong, but what happens if we talk about what we're grateful for?
yeah. And I think this is beautiful because as educators, we need to reframe how we look at conflict.
Now, but if I'm really in a rush, you see my shoes, you see my keys, and she'd be like, hey, watch your voice. I'm like, you right? You right? Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Conscious Educators, the heart-centered classroom. I'm Rodney Salomon, and I'm here with my soul brother, co-host, Mychal Mills, and today we're diving into a topic that many of us tend to shy away from, and this is kind of like a little like a bridge from the previous episode.
It is.
And that is conflict.
Ooh,
Conflict. I get a little credit sometimes. I was one of those folks that would avoid conflict by all means, but what if we told you that conflict isn't something that we have to fear, and we now embrace it in our organization? What if instead we approach it as an opportunity to grow? Okay, Coach Crump, OTG. OTG.
Yeah, that's right, Rodney, because we talk about conflict and our body's already shut down. He's like, I don't want nothing to do with that. Just leave me alone with that. You go that way with that. And let's just resolve conflict by staying away from each other. But what if we held conflict with tenderness? Mm-hmm. What if we held conflict with love, with compassion, empathy? It can actually deepen our relationships rather than damage them or divide them. And it can be very generative and transformative. And I think that generative conflict needs to be talked about more in today's society because, we grow from conflict. And as educators, we need to create a space where conflict can be held and processed without shame or blame. And we're sort of practice, we're talking about shaming the behavior and not the child, right? And where we actually neutralize conflict, right? Because conflict can be good or bad, right? When I do my workout, there's some conflict happening in my body, right? But we need to prioritize neutralizing conflict and where everyone feels heard and valued, and we're lifting each other out of conflict and growing from it.
That is powerful, man. And I think this is something that will benefit and add value to everyone listening. But to get things started, we know we got to share our gratitude and our appreciation to everyone that is listening, has been listening. We got 3 5-star view rankings on our Spotify cast. So
Shout
whoever
out
you
to
are,
y'all three.
this is definitely for you right here.
Yeah. We appreciate you all.
We care about you all.
And we love you all. Truly mean that from our hearts to your hearts. And hopefully, if there's conflict in the body, those words melted it away.
Yeah, and something that helps melt away conflict is the self-awareness and checking in with ourselves. And it really gives you an idea to really, like we talked about that guest house poem a few episodes ago, to really invite all the emotions. And to do that, we have to explore. So today's question is going to be, what is your color today? And what is something that you are proud of about yourself, Brother Mychal?
Proud, okay, yeah. So color. I'm feeling like a blue, even though I'm wearing a different color here. Definitely blue, a lighter blue. Blue's definitely my default color, and something that's really feels expansive to me, right? And I feel like, okay, there's so much on the horizon, so I feel like I'm in an expansive state. And one thing I'm proud of, that's so beautiful.
I'm so proud of you.
Yeah, the things I shy away from, but I'll say I'm proud of how I moved through conflict historically with calmness, right? With not ease, but with grace, and more conflict, like crucial conversations and things that need to be heard and said. But a lot of deep healing comes out of those spaces when you find the common ground, or you look to like, okay, let me neutralize this and learn from it, grow from it, even if it feels uncomfortable inside of me. But I'm really proud of that ability to move through it.
the tone of voice you hear in his voice right now is the same tone of voice you hear when he's in a conflict conversation with you too.
Might get softer.
And that takes a lot of self-control, a lot of self-awareness, and I can attest, because I've seen and interacted, like, this is what our arguments sound like. It's a tone of voice of that nature. Like, they arguing, they're having a good time. I can't tell. Oh, man.
That's beautiful. What about you, Brother Robert?
Yeah. I'm actually the color of your shirt. Thursdays are my grounding practice where I do my power yoga and really strengthen my container, and I feel that fire. I imagine that fire. I picture the impurities burning up, and it really gives me a ground, because when I can sit through intentional discomfort, when the world gives it to me, it's not as difficult to. I've been through here. I held that warrior one for 18 seconds. You know what I'm saying? Like 18 breaths, not 18 seconds. 18 breaths.
18 breaths.
And I take
more
long,
than 18 seconds.
slow. Yeah. But like, it's a challenge, and what I'm proud of. Man, what I'm proud of, I pull a specific moment. My son, like, I could see my oldest son is getting accustomed to the new sibling and the middle child, and how me and the wife are diversifying our energy and love. And I see he punched his little brother, and it got me frustrated. And I caught myself, I paused, and then I really had a heartfelt, I would say, man conversation with him. And I spoke to my heart. I paused and say, man, what does my spirit need to impart on his soul for him to get the best lesson possible? And I was taking the time. I was raising my voice, but like Vipassana, being angry with peace in your heart, I had to let him know, because I don't want him to be in this world and exuding a behavior that could get him into more troubles, but also letting him know I love him. And I'm proud of my approach. My wife was just kind of, I knew it was a good one. She smiled at the side. I was like, oh, that's my husband right there. That's my baby daddy. So that's what I was saying. I'm proud.
Okay. That's beautiful. And I have to lift that up too, because I was at a staff development a couple of weeks ago, and someone recognized the organization. They're like, wait, is the other co-founder Rodney Salomon? And they're like, oh, my children go to my little gym, right?
Little gym.
Together. They don't know you, right? But they've been watching you.
Only brother
And it was dope though, because it's like when you see it, you see the influence of conscious parenting and how you navigated a conflict with your son at the time really influenced that individual to reframe how they enter conflict with their children.
There's a couple of them. So.
And I was like, instead of yelling, I am strong, I am powerful, how are you feeling? And I watch it myself. I'm like, well, that's beautiful. That's inspiring. Imagine every child is raised in that way, because
self-control, self-awareness.
Yeah. It starts with yourself.
Brother,
right?
me wants to say something.
Yeah.
My pops.
Yeah. And I think this is beautiful, because as educators, we need to reframe how we look at conflict, right? Conflict is not inherently, it's not negative. It's inherently, it's everything we can be, right? And so, when we look at conflict as just negative, we're limiting the possibility of what can happen after. Yeah. And simply, it's a friction that arises, causes tension, but that tension causes growth. And then we start to understand, our different perspectives, our different needs, our own emotions, as well as showing empathize and feeling the emotions of others. And when all that comes into play, there's so much growth and opportunity for us to look at a different horizon of conflict. And the real question is, how do we navigate it? How do we ride the waves of conflict? You talking about emotions earlier, but with conflict, right? And, in research and psychology, it shows that, and especially restorative justice, which our organization has facilitated for a number of years, it shows how when we engage in conflict determines how it strengthens or weakens relationships. Yeah. And if our pathway is back to relationships, how do I handle conflict so I can deepen those relationships?
Almost jumped ahead, but I do have a question that I want to just pose for you to answer later, because I think it's in the next reflection. But we talk about all the time, the outer war, the outer conflict is a reflection of the inner conflict, right? And when we avoid our inner conflict, it's probably likely that we're going to mirror that on the outer level of our being, and it can lead to resentment, right? It could lead to disconnection, because if I don't want to feel that discomfort, it's going to be difficult for me to feel the joy that I will get when life is. And I can think back to times when I had lots of conflict, relationships, honey boo-boos, the emotional connection with my parents. And, I know they loved me, but how we express love in our culture was not something that you really felt energetically all the time. And I noticed when I had great moments, winning awards, having big games, people around me would be more excited than I was about it. And it's not because I didn't want to, because I didn't have the capacity. So while we engage in it with intention and care, we can foster a deeper level of trust and understanding to this conflict. And there's a lot of research. I think people study conflict probably for the wrong reasons, to create more conflict and stop people from solving it, but that's another conversation. Studies show that if you in a workplace, I know we was at a school, I ain't gonna call the school name out, we came into the PD, and everyone in the room was just gossiping and just talking about all that's going wrong. And I was like, I'm not saying what's happening is wrong, but what happens if we talk about what we're grateful for? Let's talk about what's the solution for the problem. Like, instead of focusing on what the admin and central office is doing and blah, 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 and that is very real, not negating that, but focusing on what can we do in this school. So engaging it in a healthier way to have higher levels of growth and creativity and collaboration and solutions, so that way we can build the resilience that we need to have these crucial conversations.
Oh man, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. And we have to remember also that conflict affects our nervous system. Right, and our nervous system doesn't forget. So when we understand that conflict affects our nervous system, we have to understand our perception, our relationship with conflict. Because sometimes people hear conflict or they engage in conflict, they're automatically in fight, flight, or freeze, or fawning, right? And when you understand that, it's like, okay, if I'm able to stay in a regulated state and I approach conflict with more curiosity, so I'm offering myself to learn more about the conflict internally and externally. Instead of defensiveness, we open the door for a deeper resolution and a growth from that conflict.
Yeah. And I would like for y'all to take a moment to reflect. And I'm gonna pose this to Brother Mychal as well. But as a collective, individually, how do you currently respond to conflict? Do you tend to it? Do you avoid it? Do you meet it with defensiveness, or engage with openness, or is it a little bit of everything? Like, what would you say, Brother Mychal, from your own personal journey and experience in relationships of life?
For me, I think, first off, it depends on the level of conflict as well as the type of conflict. But I would say my go-to is to sit with it first inside of my body. And I will tell you, even in my unconscious state, I would do that, but I wouldn't respond consciously. But in my unconscious state, I would still sit with it. But I was sitting here, I was like, okay, I was mapping out my next move. Like, okay, I'm gonna get you here, I'm gonna get you there. I know what to say, I know what to do, But for now, at this point in my life, I regulate my body first, and I sit with the conflict, understand it, and I start to build curiosity from it. Like, what is this conflict showing me? What do I need to learn from this? What is being communicated to me? What is being communicated from me? And so there's a level of curiosity there that I'm sitting with, I'm reflecting on it before I respond to it. So that's kind of like my relationship currently. How about yourself, Brother Brown?
I say it varies. I would say honestly, and it's more mature now, but like when it comes to like even something small, like if we having staff, I process the feeling. I take, when I was younger, I'd probably be more reactive in my younger leadership days and just say what I feel, because I'm the leader, so I can talk how I want to talk. You know what I'm saying? That's not the best way to be a leader in any capacity, but really slowing time down. That's why practicing being still, to feel it, see what your reactive would happen in your mind, but then also thinking, what is the best thing for everybody in this room, right? For some spaces, it's easier. I think with my wife, but when you're with a partner, with a love person, there's many journeys, and I think we have grown tremendously tremendously together and how we handle conflict, from like little stuff of like, I leave stuff open, she closes it up, she moves stuff every 2 seconds, I get frustrated, I'm trying to rush out the house and grab something, and it's like even those moments I'm pausing, I'm trying to say with my loving tone, hey baby, where are things out? But if I'm really in a rush, you see my shoes, you see my keys, and she be like, hey, watch your voice. I'm like, you right, you right, because no, I love you. So I think it varies, but I think the people that I'm around when I have conflict with them embrace me in a way where they know I still love them. Although I have a side of me that might be more intense and fiery, I will always take accountability for what I know that I'm not doing correct, which took a lot of growth and maturity as a young man to even get to a space to acknowledge that, you know what, I did lash out on you, but I shouldn't have said that, I shouldn't have done that. And that gives me more power to harmonize and bring back to balance whatever that conflict was, if that person is willing to open their bridge to connect.
I like that you said that too, because I heard in your response that you know who you are.
Yeah.
Right? You know your archetype, you know your characteristics, you said fiery, and understanding who you are is a crucial step in developing that relationship with conflict. And I will say this too, because we mentioned at an assembly today, conflict, just like anger, is like a fire that can burn down this building, or it could be very productive in cooking your dinner.
Not well done, but just right.
Right. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So could you give us, to ground this in the reality of education and in the classroom, and we've had a lot of different examples and opportunities to hold conflict in spaces in education. What's an experience that you could share with us where you held conflict in the classroom, in the school setting, and how did you navigate that?
Oh man, yeah, no, this is beautiful. I would think back to our Mindful Moment Room program, and even doing conscious classroom programs, and dealing with conflict with teachers and pulling students out. In particular, there was this French teacher that was literally right next door to us in the high school. Could not be a more perfect match made in hell, to have someone that's always going to be barking down your neck, always complaining about the kids being out, but then want to invite you into the classroom to teach a lesson. It was a very, very unique energy, but I knew her for years, and I didn't know what she was dealing with. I learned from another staff who developed a deeper rapport with this teacher that whenever she showed anger, I showed love. Whenever she would continue to break and keep talking, I would keep breathing and focusing on like, hey, I'm here to impact the students. And when it was my turn to speak, I would acknowledge any miscommunication. I would acknowledge any interruption in their schedule and acknowledge their feelings and behavior. And at the end of the day, I would speak authentically and truthfully around. I wouldn't coward and minimize. I would simply acknowledge that, hey, you notice that this student is dealing with X, Y, Z. You notice that they have difficulty focusing in the classroom. Mm-hmm. So my duty and my purpose is to be a support, not to undermine you, not to override or make you feel that you're not worthy, but to assist you in making your teaching job earlier. And this would go on probably multiple times. And I'm like, oh, I know why she was put next door to us, because this is to help cultivate me to develop the ability to sit in front of my wife and not be so reactive because we spend so much time to each other, and to pause even more and to be more still. And I think with working with coworkers and teachers, somebody has to be the water. Somebody has to decide to be the bigger person. And if you have the skill set and the embodiment, I shake. Sometimes like, oh, I didn't like that. And I see the lower version of myself speaking like, you think you, let me take a breath. Oh, now I'm in my higher mind. You know what, right? I see where she's coming from. She's validated. Let me approach this in a way that's going to create the most harmony for the collective. And this took time to have that perspective, but it really makes my life even less stressful than it needs to be, because I'm choosing to uplift the totality versus just my individual ego and making me feel better about myself.
That's beautiful. I'm glad that you mentioned that, because it just shows that even amongst our colleagues, it's not just students in the classroom. There may be conflict, and it's going to affect us, right? You say it often in our PDs. Your nervous system doesn't just walk through the door and forget, right? It's not a clean slate and it's gone. No, it's there. We're suppressing it, but it's going to come out in other ways. For me, I'll say, I'll give it middle school days.
Give me a student.
I'll give you a student. I'll give you a student. I had a student, one of my actually really good students in the middle school back in the day, Asbury Park school district, and this student was always like one of my top students. But I realized this student was having a bad day. I didn't realize this at the time, actually. This student was having an off day, but was very disruptive in the classroom. We were trying to get through a lesson, a mindful lesson, very disruptive, and this, that, and the third, and just coming at people wrong. And it was like, no, an A.
Okay.
You know, a little A. It's a city too. You know, 3 letters. But you know, I'll just say it because it's not his real name. But ATL, you know, was having an off day.
I need a lifeline.
ATL was having a bad day, and it was
ATL,
man. And it was beautiful because like at the aftermath was beautiful. But I had to remove ATL from the classroom. I was like, you gotta go back to class because you are very disruptive, and I'm trying to keep a safe space for everyone else there. But like it's very conflicting and combative. You know, SMD, this, that, and the third, cussing me out, and I'm like, wow, this is not the young man I know, right? This is not the young man that I you know, little brother, this, that, and the third. So I let that sit still, and I told a friend to check on ATL later on, and you know, we connected later that day, and a great apology from ATL, but just I knew there was something deeper. It had nothing to do with me. You weren't mad at me. You weren't mad at anyone else. That conflict was coming from other spaces, and it was pouring out into me. So we had a beautiful restorative conversation. I'm asking what happened, what were you thinking about, what are you holding? What are you holding in your body? What are you holding in your nervous system? What's happening at home? And when you realize that, okay, because conflict is so much of it's not you, it's so much of the past that's coming out in the form of you. So it helped me understand, okay, you know, there's a lot of other students who are going the same thing. And when you understand ACEs, when you understand trauma and how the body keeps the score, it's like, okay, this has nothing to do with me. I'm not going to take this personally. I didn't cuss back at him. I showed him love. And it actually became a valuable lesson for all the youth in the classroom. And we've had numerous moments of this happening where it's like, man, Mr. Rob, Mr. Mike, you know, Miss Erica, this, that, and the third. How did you meet that conflict with kindness? This student is cussing you out and you're still saying I love you? It's like, so, you know, when you have that healthy embodiment and you're regulated, it helps you respond and be more proactive because you did the work ahead of time. It's not reactive. I'm not breathing after. I am breathing after, but I'm breathing before and after, and it's helping everyone in that scenario and creating more coherence in the conflict.
And one thing that really stands out is that you held throughout that space is you really maintain a non-judgmental awareness. And that's not easy to do because sometimes we have triggers, we have reminders of previous students, even previous things from our own childhood that may I see it all the time. When you're a teacher that's mad at a student that's a senior, but you've been mad at them since their freshman year, that's just something that is more internal conflict that I haven't dealt with and accepting. And a principle that supports that is relinquishing the judgment. Obviously, we know that the student's not perfect, but what Mike was able to discover was the layers, because if Mike judged a student like this, there would be no conversation. There would be no one-on-one moment. And I've seen this young man, I think he moved at the end of the school year, right? But like how much love, I was in the middle school, but I would always visit and stop by, and how much love he would have for the program, for Mr. Mike and all the kids staff. And I think holding that non-judgment doesn't mean that judgment doesn't pop in my head, but I'm going to face this child with a mindset knowing that, hey, we're seeking solutions and all of my judgments need to take a back seat. And I'm just here to facilitate a process to hopefully awaken this child to recognize their greatness, their uniqueness, but also to see the impact of whatever life in that home is showing them in that capacity.
Can I mention one more thing before we move forward? And I think this is true for both of us and our entire organization, our staff, is that the ones who had the most meaning and significance, transformation, are the ones we've had conflict with.
Ooh, a lot.
You know, whether it's internal or external, but those relationships have been the deepest, most profound relationships, and those are the ones where like they look you in the eye like, wow, you transformed my life. Like you held me at my worst. And now I'm able to see you grow into your best. So it's beautiful to hold conflict in that way because, you know, you think about education and students over time, you know, no child likes to be labeled or shamed and ultimately stay in this box of bad, no good, you'll always be this, that, and the third.
No.
we have to grow from that, and we have to see the possibilities, the greatness in these children for them to grow into what's possible in the world.
Man, that's powerful. And we just kind of did a baby masterclass on various frameworks, and we're going to dive a little bit deeper. But before we do that, I just want you to reflect internally, like right now, and how I am and whatever I've learned from life or from knowledge and education. What are some of your own strategies, right? How do you currently hold conflict? And how might you shift your approach to make it more harmonious, to make it more generative, where both sides are winning? And it doesn't mean there are no repercussions. It doesn't mean that there are going to be no kind of consequences, but it's from a space that is assisting in helping us grow and helping us learn, opposed to being punitive and trying to destroy the soul of the individual that you are interacting with, right? So time to get practical. As you reflect on that process, you can pause it to think about it. I know I jumped in there real quick. I'm ready to go into these solutions, right? But what's one actionable tip that you'd recommend for educators, youth workers, even just human beings to navigate conflict?
I say number one is starting with curiosity over judgment, right? And because when you lean into curiosity, you become more inclined to. Curiosity actually is a prelude to empathy. So when you're curious, like, let me empathize. Let me feel more. What is this person going through? Let me put myself in their shoes, right? And then also, instead of assuming the worst out of conflict, can I assume the best? Can I keep an open mind, maybe ask open-ended questions and help me understand, what you're going through, where you're coming from. Help me understand your perspective, your belief, and your thoughts and actions. And this simple shift can really de-escalate tension and open space for resolution and reconciliation for ongoing relationship.
Yeah, that's powerful. That's powerful. I think that's a great aspect. I looked at it when you said it, curiosity on one side or judgment. I have a conscious choice to shift my awareness, or if I don't train myself or practice or have these conversations unconsciously, where does my mind go to? And I know most folks ain't going to curiosity because curiosity is not a natural state that we have in our adult years. So I appreciate that insight. And I think another tip, this is phenomenal, is remaining neutral. And when I was thinking about this, I remember one day we was in the mindful moment room in the high school. A young man just got into a heartbreak, heard his girlfriend was talking to other boys, and was with a fit of rage, went up into the room, and I was talking to another student. I remember Miss Jamie was talking to another student, and I felt it, like my spidey sense just tingled, and he just like bum rushed her and like was just like kept poking his face, finger in her face, and like it was pretty physical, and I got to it in time before it didn't get too much out of control, but he put his hand on her in a way that I don't tolerate any kind of abuse of a man to a female. I'm a mama's boy, and like the way I grew up and the respect I have for my mother, something inside of me turned on, but I had to pause and I had to realize, like, hey, if I am the one that is holding space in this room, even in this situation, I have to remain neutral. And I remember Miss Jamie, shout out to, The Well in Belmar. She has her own business now. I remember I had to tell her to step away, too, because she has same sentiments as I do when it comes to that level of male abusing a female. And I just told her to take a moment to sit down, and I knew that I had to breathe. I had to ground myself. She sat with the young lady. I sat with the young man, and you thought the natural response would just be to berate and just tell him how wrong he is and how everything he does is out of control. And that's what my energy was. But in self-control and awareness, I remained neutral and asking, man, what happened? Man, what's going on? Like, this is not like you. What were you thinking about? How is this making you feel right now? And that helped me ground. And like, you hear the story, man, he's been like pretty much homeless for the past 2 weeks. He's been putting his trust and love into this girl, and I'm like, okay, like the passion took over and didn't make any of his actions right. We still walked down to the principal's office, we still had him sit down, but due to us having that conversation and due to him acknowledging and apologizing to his lady, his girl at that time, they reduced the suspension rate. And it actually allowed this man to have a more restorative approach to realizing, like, yeah, there's better ways to do this. I should have came to you guys first. I should have worked on my self-regulation first. And me being neutral sustained our relationship even beyond our time together in that room. So neutrality is key, whether it be you supporting conflict or even you just being open to listening, you might be fully right and vindicated as to how you feel, but you want to be neutral and being open to hearing the whole story. And doesn't make it right, but it gives the understanding, the space in the heart that is needed to find solutions and activate a more generative approach in conflict. So
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you for sharing that story, because I get a little teary-eyed, because I'm thinking of a scenario where when you're met with one positive childhood experience, how that can heal so many adverse childhood experiences that child has endured prior to that moment.
yeah,
And how you were that support for that young man. And also, you, and when it comes to the relationship, you being a healthy example of what that looks like.
that was
You,
tough
your
on her
wife,
too.
this and the third, but it's really great to share that space and hear that story. But, finally, I'll just say, let's not underestimate the power of pausing. We talk about that almost every episode, just taking that mindful pause so you can check in with yourself, understand what emotions are arising for yourself. Take a deep breath, create a moment of stillness, and allow yourself to be regulated before you move forward. And that can transform any situation that you're in.
Let's engage that and take a moment to pause and reflect, right? What is one small shift that you can make in how you approach conflict, and to turn it into an opportunity for a deeper understanding? And that is a heart-centered principle. It's not easy, but I can choose to relate and understand. And whatever the answer is, allow it to make you 1% better. And knowing that we are continuously growing in our approach. But now we're going to bring them into someplace deeper, Brother Mychal, because doing these practices really help ingrain these principles and make it more practical and embodied. And Brother Mychal has a beautiful practice to support us in embodying conflict resolution.
Yeah, and one thing I love, about about conflict and how I've been navigating it is meeting it with love. And I think I said in our staff meeting last week, I've just been meditating on love lately, and really trying to make it a point to think loving thoughts in my mind, in my heart. So when I'm meeting throughout the day, more love comes from my mind, more love comes from my heart and my speech. And, trying to really make that a part of the embodiment. It's a practice. So for this embodiment practice, I'm going to invite us. This mindful moment is to spend some time thinking about love. This is traditionally called the loving kindness, right? And what we're going to do is just find some love inside of ourselves, pour inside of ourselves, and allow that love to transform yourself, and then extend that love to your community and your family. So first things first, I will mention this disclaimer that this practice, I know certain practices have a certain way of doing it. For this practice, we're just going to pour love into ourselves, and we're going to pour love into our classroom, our schools, and our community. So without any further ado, I invite you to arrive to a comfortable position, whatever that means for you, your head, neck, and spine in one straight line. If you're driving, keep the eyes on the road. If you're able to sit in stillness, if you feel comfortable, I invite you to close the eyes, bringing all of your awareness inside. And let's first relax our body. Relax your body as it is. And if you choose to, you can place one hand over the heart, one hand on the belly, just so you can connect to your breath as well as your heartbeat. And I invite you to bring all of your awareness inside of your heart center in this moment. And let's first acknowledge how your heart feels right now. How's my heart in this moment? And just notice what's alive inside. Notice what feelings arise. And can I meet these feelings with tenderness, with compassion? And now I'm going to invite you to ignite your heart's imagination. And as you connect to your heart, I invite you to visualize yourself inside of your heart, being held with love, being supported in love, giving and receiving love to yourself. And I invite you to visualize love flowing through your body, filling your body. And I invite you to visualize love in your thoughts, love in your words, love in your actions. And visualize love growing from within. And just to further anchor love inside of our beings, I invite you to share these beautiful words inside of your heart. I am love. I am peace. I am happy. I am free. One more time, speak these words inside of your heart. I am love. I am peace. I am happy. I am free. And let's take a nice deep breath in through your nostrils, down to the belly. And sigh out the mouth. And I invite you to transition your awareness. Once again, awakening your heart's imagination. Visualize your community, whether it be your classroom, your entire school building, your family. And I invite you to visualize every face in your community. The ones that cause most tension inside of your body, even the ones that cause the most joy inside of your body. And I invite you to feel the love in each relationship. Sharing loving thoughts, words, and actions. Notice what love looks like, what it feels like, what it sounds like in your community, in your classroom, within your family. And I invite you to see love, to feel love, to breathe love in every interaction. And speaking these words to the community, I invite you to whisper these words inside of your heart. We are love. We are peace. We are happy. We are free. One more time. We are love. We are peace. We are happy. We are free. And let's take a nice deep breath in through your nostrils, down to the belly. And sigh out the mouth. Inviting you to place a smile on the face. Bring that smile inside the heart. Let that smile travel throughout each and every body part. Softly wiggle the toes, wiggle the fingers. When you are ready, when you are called, I invite you to gently open the eyes. And even as you open the eyes, can I see love? Can I breathe love? Can I feel love? And I invite you to check in on yourself. How are you feeling right now? And notice the possibility when love lives inside, what it can do for your community. And just notice how you feel. Take a moment, pause, reflect, connect to yourself. Yeah, just take that moment. And, if you're on a platform where you're able to, we invite you to share how you're feeling in the comments. But let me ask you, Brother Rod, how you feeling right now?
Oh, I forgot where I was at in the room. Yeah, I was like, wait, are we not doing an assembly? We doing an appreciation? I was like, no, wait, we in the podcast studio. I was like, but it was beautiful. I think when you're able to withdraw your awareness from all the different thoughts, and really, I've been practicing more on doing more affirmations and mantra, but it's giving me more strength to hold my attention on the images or ideas, and it's like is like the heart space, and then the feelings, and it's like I don't have to think about the people. The people just come to me in my mind, and it is really a space like I didn't want to leave. It was just a place that was really just comforting, and I think I know how I see how this really works because now I'm in the world. I can carry that same experience externally. So I think that was phenomenal and powerful. Maybe we gotta start cutting out these techniques and make like just an episode that just has the practice on it, that just has like a little album of our kids' techniques. But how you
Kids
feel?
album coming soon.
Yeah. You've saying that for years now. But how you feel, brother?
I feel love, man. I'm like in a loving state, man. Especially the visualization of loved ones and people, community, and you can visualize. It's like, man, visualize the loving interactions. That's why in my meditation now, I use loving thoughts, loving words, loving actions, because that's that which I want to practice when I'm out of meditation. The formal to the informal, and move in a space where it's like, man, okay, this becomes part of the practice. My daily interactions with everyone. But I feel love.
Another banger.
Man. So, man, we want to thank you all, for taking the time to tune in, to tap in and engage in these beautiful, crucial conversations. And, conflict is a part of life. There's no growth without conflict. And, with the more practice and holding it with tenderness, especially as educators and adults, we can transform our relationships and make them more generative and transformative.
Yeah, so thank you for being a part of this growing community, for checking in. If today's episode resonated with you, please let us know, share it with a friend, like it, subscribe to our podcast, give a review, whatever star you feel that this is worthy. And also, too, if you feel so in your heart and you want to continue to support this mission so we can continue to support the community and provide resources, spaces, and trainings, please donate. Every dollar makes a difference. Every penny makes a difference. Go on our website at conscious.org, click on the donation button, and find a way that works for you. And also on our website, check out our community events where we can meet in the flesh and continue to build, as we have a lot of great offerings that are coming on our way at our Conscious Community Center in Asbury Park, New Jersey.
Yes, so we want to share these words one more time with you all. We appreciate you all.
We care about you all.
And we love you all. Have a beautiful day, folks.